was pre-op, the orgasms were good, but honey, when I got that vagina, how do you have sex? Are you able to have penetrative sex? I am a post-op trans woman, so that means that I have undergone vaginoplasty, which is a form of reconstructive surgery, and that allows me to be able to have vaginal intercourse.
It's actually really weird, like, having sex with a vagina, obviously, because I went 22 years of my life without one. Every single time I'm like, oh my God, what if it hurts? Or like, what if it breaks? Or what if I like have to get another surgery or something?
Personally, I am pre-op, so I haven't had a vaginoplasty and I don't plan on getting one probably until I decide to have children. Just because I don't really have like gender dysphoria as much like down there. It doesn't really bother me as much. I do the penetrating, I guess.
What is your sexual orientation? If you have a partner now, how do they identify? I'm straight. I am married to a heterosexual cis male.
I would say straight because I am attracted to men, and the men that are attracted to me also, they would consider them straight because they see a female in me.
A lot of men are scared to date trans women because they're scared of being gay in the eyes of other men. I don't have muscles, I don't have hairy legs, I have nothing that would attract a gay man to me, you know? So I don't consider my partner gay.
As it stands now, I would identify as pan or bi, so I'm still married to my cisgender wife. We were married before my transition. The vagina is still something that I am exploring and open to. It isn't my number one preference, but I recognize that my wife's number one preference wasn't, at the time, having a wife.
At what point do you disclose to your potential partners that you're trans? It's such a touchy subject because a lot of girls disagree with me, but I believe that your first conversation, point blank.
I wouldn't want to talk to somebody, like have feelings for them, and then they find out that I'm trans and they're not into it, which is totally fine because, you know, it's not everyone's cup of tea and you can't be mad at somebody because they're not into you. But I definitely think that before you do anything sexual with somebody, you need to disclose that you're trans. That is like a number one thing.
So before my surgery, I think it was a little more important. I would literally be with a guy and just like get caught up in the moment and think he's like so perfect, so amazing. And I was like, wait, like, I have to tell you something. And now having a vagina, I've like fully had sex with people and like just not even told them. They just like don't know. When guys get upset when they find out you're trans, it's honestly based off their own insecurities of like, oh, I find so-and-so attractive. Oh, she used to be a boy. Oh my God. If you're attracted to me, if you literally just had sex with me, it doesn't matter. Like who I was born as, like I'm not that person anymore.
Have you ever feared for your safety while pursuing a hookup?
I was hooking up with a lot of people without telling them I was trans. I had an instance one time where I was hooking up with a guy and one of my friends at the time, who I thought was my best friend, told him after I hooked up with him, and he lived in the same apartment building as me, and it was not good. Him and his like friends starting to beat my ass. I literally had to move out of my apartment because I was scared, like literally for my life.
Well, I do sleep with like a bat and a knife for sure. Like I've thought to myself, like, shit, do I have to grab my knife? I have been in bars where I've had guns put up to my head here in California.
Honestly, a couple months ago, I was with this guy and it was just going really good. Didn't expect to like hook up with him or anything. But then one thing led to another. Obviously, I didn't tell him I was trans because I didn't expect to hook up with him. He was like, oh, was like Lila your birth name? And like started like asking very like weird questions. And he was like, oh, your vagina like looks new. I didn't know where it was gonna go. I was like, what if he like drugs me or smothers me or literally kills me? Because it happens all the time. You have to be so careful. And so I was like, oh, this is a really unsafe situation. Like I have to go.
Are orgasms better after your transition? When you're more comfortable with your body, yes, orgasms are better.
When I was pre-op, the orgasms were good, but honey, when I got that vagina, it feels so nice to just be able to just let her just flow, just let it flow.
I think now that I'm on like hormone pills, my libido went from here to like here.
When you're on hormones for so long, it does a lot to your reproductive organs. So you don't produce sperm and your sex drive goes down a lot. I almost went like a year without having sex just because I really was like not feeling well about myself because I was still in kind of like that beginning phase where I felt like I really wasn't a full woman yet.
My sex life with my partner has improved since my transition. It can be magical and epically more romantic and epically more, because I'm so much more engaged. I was never able to be fully engaged with almost anything across the spectrum of life, not just sex, before I came out. It's much better, much more beautiful.
How often do you encounter people who fetishize you? Very often. They go instantly into like, oh, like, do you like the top? You know, can I give you oral?
There's always random people who will Instagram DM you, Twitter DM you.
Been so many people who were like, oh my God, do you have a dick? Or like blah, 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 and think it was like so hot and stuff like that. And it's like, baby, I'm not a fetish. And like, that's what so many people like think, or they're like, oh, I'm not into that. And it's like, into what? You're not into girls? Like it's like not something to be into. It's just like, are you attracted to me or not?
When you have sex, do you ever struggle with feelings of dysphoria? Yes, I do. My voice and my face for making out, and sometimes my stubble, you know, I haven't had laser hair removal. There are certain surgeries, facial feminization and things like that, that I still haven't had. I don't feel dysphoric about my genitalia. A lot of trans people do. I don't. I like that part of my body.
I know a lot of trans women are very like against their parts, and you know, because mentally they're women, right? Well, this is me, trans woman. You know, I'm not mentally a woman. I don't want ovaries. I don't want a vagina. You know, so I like using my penis to have sex for sure.
It's so important oftentimes as a trans woman to feel that we need to be the prettiest, we need to be the thinnest, we need to be the curviest, just so we can even feel less dysphoric.
Early on, I remember she even asked if it was possible for me to sometimes, you know, role play like the role of a guy, even just for like, almost like dress up. I think she was just coming to terms with the loss of that. I was just very honest and said no, because I'll be in tears by the end of that.
Was sex talked about in your home growing up?
No. There was no sex talked about in my home.
I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama, so very deep Bible Belt South. So sex was not talked about at home. And I actually had sex at 13.
Asian people, they have like this like strict rule, and like also the way that they want their sons to grow up as. So if they're growing up trans, like it's kind of a big no-no. I told myself, and I made a promise to myself, that I won't transition medically until my mom like fully accepts me. Yeah, she disowned me for like 5 years. I just wanted that path for me. I know that a lot of trans girls would be like, Zyla, you need to take hormones right away or else you're gonna turn into an old man. But for me, I wanted to do it my way. I mean, now we're like best friends, and like she buys me underwear and like bras and stuff, so.
Is it transphobic if I want to wait for sex until my partner gets further into her transition?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
There's no issue with wanting to wait, and you need to definitely communicate that, because it really sucks for someone to have to wait and expect something and it never comes. And then for also them to have to feel that you really don't desire them at all.
No, I don't think that's transphobic. I think honestly certain things, especially sexually with pre-op trans women, is I guess just your like own opinion and your own preference, I guess. Like certain things make you uncomfortable, that's one thing. But if you genuinely like, don't want to have sex with them, then it's like, why are you together? Why are you talking? Like,
It's a conditional kind of love. It's like you don't view them as female or male until they're completely transitioned, which is not fair. If you can't love me at this point, you can't love me at this point, you know?
Has sex ever made you regret your transition? I would say no. I don't think sex really has anything to do with my transition, because I guess for me, like, I could go the rest of my life without having sex.
not regret. I would never ever regret anything. But right after I got my surgery and like got my first boyfriend, I was like, oh my God, why is this so much work? Like, cause you have to dilate and like clean yours, like clean and like all this stuff. Once you go that far, there's nothing really you can't handle. So it's just all about patience at that point and like letting everything heal, and your day will come.
I'm at a point in my transition where like sex doesn't give me any validation anymore. I think when I was younger, that was definitely an issue, and I thought I needed to be having so much sex to have people really think, that I was the most perfect and beautiful woman.
What's one thing you wish you could debunk about being a trans woman? This whole like pervert thing and like, us trans women using the restroom, it's like, honey, all we do there is wash our hands or pee or poop and then we're gone. I am not there to look and stare at your anything.
One of the things that I wish that we can debunk is that we often don't get tested. We often don't want to know our HIV status. People think that, we're just walking around, just like a walking STD. We're not.
We just want to be normal. We want to live a life. We want happiness. We want boyfriends. We want husbands. We want to not be killed. We don't want to be threatened. We don't want to be somebody's secret. We don't want to be your side chick. Every night I get texts from midnight to 5 in the morning, and it's so annoying because those are hoe hours. And I'm not nobody's hoe. I'm special. I'm unique.
What is something you wish you had learned in sex ed?
I wish that I learned being trans isn't a sexuality, it's an identity. Like, I thought, because of my own experience, I thought, okay, all trans women who transition from male to female, they like men. But that's clearly not the case. Like, you can be a trans woman and love women. You can love both, or you can love men.
I wish that I would have learned that sex doesn't equal love. I think I would have realized that just because I was 13 and I thought that I loved him and we had sex, so that meant that he loved me too.
The emotional connectivity that comes from having sex with someone. After I've had sex with someone, it has never been the same when I'm in the room with them. When their name is brought up, there's a connection there that, for better or worse, those are pieces of me that I wish I had guarded a little more in a lot of circumstances.
Everyone should explore their own bodies and find out what is best for them. It shouldn't be about making other people happy or fulfilling a societal standard. Sex is fun, and it should be about that.